Good afternoon, everyone. Bonjour.
On Monday, June 9th, in front of a backdrop of assembled reservists at the Fort York Armory in Toronto, Prime Minister Mark Carney announced,
I'm announcing today that Canada will achieve NATO's 2% of GDP target this year, half a decade ahead of schedule.
It is time to target just what substance Carney is offering to the CAF other than promises of massive spending increases. To spend 2% of Canada's GDP means a whopping $62.7 billion annually on defense. To reach that goal in this fiscal year, Carney just promised to provide the Department of National Defense with $9.3 billion extra to spend before April 1st, 2026. The rest of the increase comes from counting the money being spent on defense and security at other federal departments, including the Canadian Coast Guard. Given that the Canadian Armed Forces are woefully short of everything, one would think that a short-term wild buying spree would be welcome news. Unfortunately, the one resource which the CAF is critically lacking is something that cannot be easily bought, and that is trained personnel. Defense Minister David McGuinty has announced a 20% across-the-board pay hike for service members with additional bonuses for training and exercises. That will help to retain some personnel who are considering release and may attract more civilians into recruiting centers. However, as the CAF's own numbers reveal, it is not a shortage of recruits that is leading to the personnel shortfall. It is the inability to provide these recruits with trades training once they're in uniform. Statistically, the highest proportion of those seeking release from the CAF are those who graduated from basic military training at CFRS St. Jean and then sat idle for months, unable to get course loaded on trades training. A bigger paycheck may cause some of them to grumble and stick around. However, having them simply wearing a uniform does not provide relief for the burnt-out personnel who are trades qualified and therefore in high demand for operations. A recent internal analysis showed that nearly half of all weapons platforms across all three branches of the CAF are unserviceable at any point in time. This is due to a combination of the advanced age of those platforms, a lack of spare parts in the system, and most importantly, a shortage of trained specialists to keep them in working order. Hefty re-signing bonuses to recently released skilled technicians might help in that regard, but I have yet to hear that idea being floated by the Liberal government. Carney also announced that the new spending will include provision for better accommodations on bases all across Canada. This too will be a boost to morale of those currently serving. No doubt the flurry of recent media stories, particularly in Halifax, regarding homeless serving sailors couch surfing due to a lack of suitable housing would have deterred more than a few would-be recruits in the past. However, given the housing crisis Canada faces nationwide, finding developers and construction companies to get shovels in the ground before next April will be a challenge. When it comes to big-ticket items like fleets of fighter jets or warships, there's no such thing as a truly off-the-shelf. No defense company makes sophisticated weapons platforms on speculation that they might find a buyer. If Canada were to seek an instant solution to acquire a much-needed combat capability like low-level air defense or first-person view FPV drones, this would have to be a government-to-government exchange. This was the case when Canada acquired the 4 used and mothballed British Upholder-class submarines, renamed the Victoria-class in current Canadian service. This was also the case when Canada acquired M777 howitzers from the U.S. Marine Corps, 6 Chinook heavy lift helicopters from the U.S. Air Force, and 20 Leopard 2 main battle tanks from the German Army. Of course, those were necessary acquisitions due to the level of conflict in Afghanistan. It would be difficult for PM Carney to justify sidestepping Canada's tangle of procurement red tape just to get money out the door before the now magical date of April 1st, 2026.
We outlined a plan that will redefine Canada's place in a more dangerous and divided world.
Carney has said that he hopes to have a deal signed to include Canada in a new European-centric defense pact and to decrease our nearly 75% reliance on US-built weapon systems. All of this comes in advance of the NATO Leaders Summit in the Netherlands at the end of June, which makes all of Carney's recent spending announcements seem like they're a day late and a buck short. After the recent Ministers' Summit in Brussels, NATO Secretary General Mark Rutte announced,
At the summit in The Hague, I expect allied leaders will agree to spend 5% of GDP on defense. It will be a NATO-wide commitment.
Given Canada's GDP, that would mean tripling our current defense budget to $150 billion. No matter how you slice that, that's one big chunk of cheese. This has been On Target. I'm Scott Taylor.